Hi everyone, grApel here with grApelations, and I'd like to talk to you about how to taste wine like a sommelier. So whenever you have a glass of wine, you want to ask yourself three things. How does this look? How does it smell? And finally, how does it taste? So the first thing is the sight. And there are many things you can gather just by looking at it. One first would be the stain. After you give it a quick swirl like that, how much of that residual color do you see left on the glass? And this will give you an idea of what type of grape was used because of the extraction levels from the grape skin. Next, you kind of want to look and see, is this a clear wine or is it hazy? And even more cloudy than that is called turbid. So that's why you'll see people kind of hold it up to a light and look through from the bottom. Next, you want to tilt the glass forward over a white piece of paper and evaluate some of the rim variation and, again, how opaque or how translucent it is. Each type of grape will give its own individual color. So you can tell kind of which grape it is by the color, but then the age is also going to affect the color. So first you kind of give it a little spin and turn it and see, can you read text through the side? Now that'll give you a level of extraction. So sometimes, like a Cabernet Sauvignon is going to have more pigment extracted from the skin than a Pinot Noir. So this is actually a Bordeaux blend. So it's Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot. So lots of thick skinned grapes. The next thing we're going to look at here is kind of the variation. The color is, paper's moving on me. It's lighter around the rim than it is in the middle. So that'll tell you that there's some age on it. That's how you could distinguish age versus extraction. And around the very outside, there'll be what they call a watermark. It's clear liquid at the very end of the oval. Again, red wines go from a vibrant purple to a garnet and ruby and almost a brick color. So this wine here is 9 years old, and you can see that it is more of that ruby tone. When you are analyzing the site, you want to take a look at the tears. So you give it a little swirl, and then look for the legs or the tears. Slow to form and slow to fall, which you can see those developing now. Slow to form, slow to fall means it's high in alcohol. If it gets on the side of your glass and then quickly dissipates, that means there is low sugar or low alcohol. Alright, and a quick note on white wines. White wine starts out crystal clear, but as it is exposed to oxygen, it'll turn to a straw, yellow, then golden color, ultimately ending in an orange colored wine. Now, white wine would be exposed to oxygen through either barrel aging, and those are some of your Chardonnays are going to get that rich buttery flavor from the barrel, or it could be through just life in the bottle where little micro bits of oxygen are sneaking in through the cork. That's why, very generally, you want to drink your white wines within 2 years. The next thing would be the smell. So you go ahead and you give your wine a swirl and go ahead and stick your nose in. Now, you can either do several short inhalations or one long inhalation. But the really important thing here is that you don't burn out your nose, because this is alcohol. So if you smell too much, eventually your senses will go numb. So you just want to get a few sniffs, kind of assess it, swirl it again, check it out. Now, it's important to take it one step at a time. You can't just stick your nose in and get the whole bouquet of aromas. So first you look at what are the fruit flavors involved. With red wine, they're either going to be red fruits, blue fruits, or black fruits. When you're analyzing a white wine, you will smell citrus, stone fruits, tree fruits, or tropical fruits. After you've identified your fruit, then you ask yourself, what is the state of that? Is it fresh and tart, or is this kind of a dried or jammy aroma? After assessing fruit aromas, then you want to look at non-fruit aromas. So start with any floral aromas. Next, vegetal aromas? Then is there any spice? And this could be oak aging characteristic. Sometimes the baking spice such as cinnamon or clove, but oak will also come through as cedar or sawdust or even dill. Then you want to look, is there anything kind of funky about my wine? It's often described as barnyard. And this could be from Brettanomyces, and that's a wild yeast often used in beers as well. Next you want to look at, is there any mineral or stone content to the wine? So sommeliers will assess all these things and use the deductive process to try and figure out what is the grape in my glass. After you've assessed the nose of the wine, then you move on to taste it. The first thing you're doing is really trying to confirm some of those aromas you picked up when you were smelling the wine. But now you're really analyzing the structure. So you're going to test the acidity, the sweetness, and the alcohol level. So the first thing you do is, after you sip, you kind of aerate the wine on the palate. And I always encourage people not to be obnoxious about it. So yes, a little subtle bubbles there, and then swish it all around your mouth. You really want it to touch all parts of your mouth, gums, and tongue, and your saliva will also start to interact with the wine, understand the developing flavor. Now, inhale, swallow the wine, and then exhale, and you will get a kind of a retronasal flavor as you are exhaling. With alcohol, what they say is that high alcohol, you can feel right in your mouth. Low alcohol, you feel in your stomach. So it's almost kind of a scale. Where do you feel the alcohol when you drink it? Two more characteristics to take a look at. One is the tannin of the wine. This is common in red wine, not so much in white wine. In white wine, we call it phenolic bitterness. But tannin in red wine is the astringent component of wine. So when you take a sip, how much does it dry out your mouth? Then the acidity. So you can really tell a high acid wine by the level of salivation after you take a sip of the wine. So you would take all these characteristics through the sight, the nose, and the palate of the wine and really figure out, make your best guess, what is this wine I'm tasting? But for purposes of enjoyment, always ask yourself, what does this look like, smell like, and taste like, and why? Because there are many variables in the process of making wine that'll affect the outcome. But the most important thing is enjoy it.